Hey, welcome back everybody. So we are ready to migrate over to Adobe Illustrator. I have an Illustrator file for you here in the tutorial file. So I'm going to go ahead and just control or right click that, and we're going to open that up in Adobe Illustrator. We'll go ahead and let that launch. So again, what we're moving into here is we are going to be completing some tasks where we're mixing the imagery that we just manipulated and cut out into Illustrator for some really cool graphics to use for whatever you need graphics for. All right, so let me go ahead and pull this. I know that I could go full screen, but I actually hate being in full screen mode because wonky things always happen when I do tutorials. All right, so what we've got going on here is we have 4 artboards, and I have some graphics here that I've already saved in here for you that we're going to be doing some things with. And you can see that they're all grouped here. So if we grab our selection tool, we're going to see all of these are grouped on the different artboards for the time being. So the first thing that I want to do, let me actually make my layers panel large, very large and in charge, so that you can see what is going on. So you can always change that in your layer panel option. It's this fly out menu right here. The little hamburger, as some people call it, or the little stack of lines. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And you can see a lot better here that my layer icons are very large, which you might not need, but I think it's helpful in tutorial to be able to see those really, really well. Now, just a reminder, if your setup is not looking like mine, and that's a problem because you're fairly new to Illustrator still, no problem. Remember that you can go to Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials Classic here, and you're going to see that it does a reset. My layers panel kind of disappeared there, but I'm just going to open it back up, and I'm just going to pull my layers panel off because it makes it a little easier when I'm talking about things here in Illustrator. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to work with text a little bit more on this first artboard right here. So you can see here that I have the group of graphics here. If I toggle this down, I also have a background image, which is this kind of off-white sort of colored square. It's not quite covering the artboard, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. But we're actually going to work off to the side here for just a few moments. So go ahead and get your text tool, and I want you to just click and drag and create a text box off to the side here. And you can type whatever word you like, but I'm going to type the word hello exclamation point. And it's very small right now. So I'm going to take my text tool in here and I'm going to highlight hello. And then I have my properties panel, which I'm going to pull off so you can see it a little easier. Have my properties panel here. And we're going to go ahead and make this text bigger until it kind of feels like it's going to fit on this little artboard nicely. So I'm going to go up to, let's say, 130. And that's fine for now. Now I want you to pick a font, any font of your choice. Something big and thick that's easy to see would be the best. So you can pick whatever. I'm going to choose, let's say, this Asphalt Black. It kind of seems like a font type that would go well with the geometric shapes I already have on this board. Okay? All right, cool. So hello. We could change the color here, but I want to show you how you can you can turn your type into their own shapes, which we've kind of looked at a little bit before, but I want to go over it again. We want to turn these into actual graphic artwork, and we want them to each be their own object so that we can change the colors of them. So I want to transform this out of being a text sort of asset and into being vector artwork that I can manipulate. So what we're going to do is go ahead and grab the selection tool. If the text isn't selected, go ahead and select it. There's a couple different ways to do this. The first is to go to type and create outlines, which is Shift, Command or Control, and O. So we're going to go ahead and create outlines. You're going to notice in the layers panel that we now have hello in all different vector shapes. So this is no longer technically text in terms of how Illustrator recognizes it. It goes into a group by default, which is a nice organized way for Illustrator to kind of, it's doing it in an organized way for us, but we don't always necessarily want that to be the case. I want to be able to select these easily as individuals and then regroup them. So I'm going to have the group selected here. I'm going to go to Object and Ungroup, also Shift, Command, or Control G. So now we have individual free agents here on their own. And I want to color the letters, the colors that I already have here in my vector artwork. So there's a couple of things I want to do here. The first is that I need to, let me just scoot these panels over. I need to move this artwork around so that it's a little bit smaller. And I actually want to rotate it a little bit and move it down into the lower left-hand corner. So if I look at this group here, I've got my graphics group together, and then there's the background image. So I'm going to have you just click on the graphics group. So it should just be, the selection grid should just be hugging these little graphics here. I'm going to go ahead and hold down my Shift key. I'm going to shrink it down. I'm going to give it a rotate. I'm holding my Shift key down so it rotates it in 45-degree increments. Now you notice that this is hanging over the artboard just a little bit. That's okay. I tend to just let things hang over the artboards a little bit, just so that there's kind of a safety area. Sometimes it's real easy to have something like over just a couple of pixels, and then you end up with like a white line because it's not aligned with the artboard perfectly. When the way that we're going to export these, it's going to perfectly just export what's on the artboard itself. So not anything to worry too much about. All right, so I've got my little graphic moved over and a little bit smaller. I'm going to go ahead and marquee select. So click down and drag over all these letters. And I'm going to go ahead and bring them over to my artboard. And now, since these are vector artwork, I can kind of manipulate these a little bit. So I think I'm going to bring them up and make them a little bit taller like this. And I'm just going to kind of center them in the top there. Now I want to go ahead and color these, but I want it to match the colors down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead with my selection tool. I'm going to go ahead and select the H. Then you can take your eyedropper tool over here. The quick key for that is I. So I'm going to click the eyedropper tool and I'm going to start picking colors. So I'm going to do orange. Go back to my selection tool, do the E. I'm going to hit I for the eyedropper tool and do blue. We'll do, let's say, both of the, well, maybe I will do those different colors. Okay, so eyedropper tool, we're going to go for this dark blue. I can hit V to go back to my selection tool. So this is toggling back between V and I on your keyboard. So I'm going to hit I for eyedropper. We'll go orange again. I'm going to hit V. Go ahead and select the O. We'll have that be blue. Eyedropper, blue. And, this is just a quick way. If you need to do something really quick, you're not like needing to save a swatch or anything. Like you just need to get it done. This is a good way to do that. Okay, going back to V, the selection tool, and then I want that exclamation point to be pink. I didn't want any of these prominent letters to be pink because I want them to be really high contrast. And then we can have that soft exclamation point at the end in pink. So, hello. All right. So let's say I want to go ahead and group these letters together, and then I want to group all of this together to have a nice, clean, organized project. So I'm going to come over here to my layers panel, and I'm just going to start selecting them. I'm going to shift select down the line here. I'm going to hit Command or Control G to group. So now we have hello grouped as such. So we have hello and then the background and the graphics. I'm going to go ahead and with my selection tool selected, marquee select all of those, hit Command or Control G, and now I have this entire artboard sort of grouped together, which is a nice organized way to have your project.